Welcome to our lecture about Internet security, weaknesses and targets. This lecture is about computer crime and is about the potential attackers. We are in the second chapter of our lecture series. We are in the chapter where we speak about risk analysis and computer crime. And this is the second lecture that a little bit tries to survey what are the potential attackers, what are their motivation, because this helps to understand the focus of attacks and the motivation for such attacks. The information about possible criminals and their motives, why they do this, why they try to attack this, why they attack exactly this site or this system, helps to establish more secure computer systems, helps to find for which kind of person, what part of the IT system is particularly risky and needs special securities. Problem is that there are very different groups and very different motivations for people in this cybercrime environment. I start, although people would say, oh, it's not crime, I start with the stuff of the own enterprise. I mentioned already that a lot of attacks in a company, in an administration, in an institution are done by the internal people. And you know, you can have a strong firewall and you can have a high security boundary around your site. The people that are in, they are in. So staff of own enterprise is a group that is interested and motivated to do such computer crime and attacks. Then we have the group of pupils and students from high schools and universities that learn to use the systems and try to play with the systems and try to find out the weaknesses. So here often there is no criminal idea behind. It is like a game to overcome, for example, security measures of a famous company or institution. Then we have the group of agents from competitors that, for example, want to get insight into research efforts and the research results of a competing company. You know, research is very important, and such research results, for example, if we speak about pharma industry, then to design new drugs is very, very expensive, is an expensive task. And if one is able to try to sift such information, then at the end, one is able to produce a similar drug with much lower costs. There are the hackers and crackers from the computer underground. They have their own motivation to attack systems. We have the professional criminals, the professional hacker criminals. Meanwhile, there are lists you can order an attack. You can give the address, you have to pay money, and then they will attack the systems. We have the computer secret agents. We have spies and agents from various intelligence services. And we have ordinary criminals that use internet because they use the internet for communication purposes because it's much less dangerous than other form. And we have the group of terrorists which are attacking systems. Let's have a closer look to the stuff of the own company, of the own enterprise, of the internal people. What is their motivation to attack the system? What was found out by a big number of studies, of investigations of security incidents was that a large portion of misusage of a computer system is caused by the staff of their own companies. And what are the motivations? Of course, often motivation is incompetence or carelessness. when doing some action and is not clear about all the consequences that come from these actions. But there is also frustration, feeling bad about the treatment by the chief, or frustration not to be honored or not to be recognized as a person that's particularly active. There's mischief, there is revanche. So many different motives could it be drives internal people to do some security relevant attacks. I mentioned the problem from the intranet, using internet technology inside the company, so the misuse becomes much easier if the people are inside the intranets, because the security measures are lower, typically lower than the security measures for people that coming from external. What is important if we speak about security incidents, and very important factors, this human factor, is that the people are naive or the people are careless. For example, the person is calling them and say, "Oh, we are the administrator and we need to repair your computer. What was your password?" And then the people tell the password. Or social hacking is this activity. So this is, one needs to be careful, and you know stories where it's very sophisticated to find out information, to get such the secrets. For example, the non-compliance of internal security instructions is a source of the possibility to attack systems, to theft data, to get access to confidential data. The intentional damage and fault, for example, by node-less activation of switches, or by clever theft, or by distributing viruses, is very important. So, for example, a typical situation is one works with an administrator, and one needs from an external place big data, and usually it's not allowed because there are some regulations by the firewall. Then one agrees for a short moment to switch off the security measure, to get this data, to get this file, to get something. And then lunchtime, and people forgot to reactivate this switched off security tool. Such type of failures often cause damage and provide possibilities for break-ins. A new problem is that by means of new technology, people can use their private devices, their smartphones, their computer. They are allowed to do some of the work in the home office, away from the company, in their home. So via the internet. So the intranet needs to be opened so that the people can access it from the external world. If this is not done in a correct way, of course one can do this by virtual private networks, for example, but if it's not done in the correct way, this causes damages. Let's have a look what is the motivation for pupils and students, for hackers from high schools and universities. By the way, they cause the biggest number of break-in attempts, break-in into an intranet of a company. Often these are unsuccessful break-ins, but security administration also needs to observe any kind of break-in attack and has to analyze what's the reason. So pupils and students do this to show, to develop their knowledge, to find out what is the way to access this, to try out instruments and information they found over the internet. So typically, these people are using well-known break-in methods. So for that reason, sometimes one speaks from this group also from the script kiddies. They use scripts, security attack scripts that are available in the internet, and the kiddie brings to expression that they are no IT specialists, that they do not understand how this tool, how the software is working, but they can apply the software. The motifs here are a combination of curiosity, play instinct, of self-affirmation, and others. In the majority of the cases, this is harmless. This is harmless and also without much bad intent. But there are some famous incidents, for example, that a high school student was able to break into the network of NASA and got access to very secret data for this world space program. So this shows that this is, at the end, not so dangerous. Typically, it's also a low amount of loss and of damage, because they are not motivated to damage something or to theft something. This is the motivation of criminals. But here it's more the play instinct and to prove that one is able. So I mentioned already the script kiddies. Without deeper technological knowledge, that easily try out tools that are available over the internet. They try out such hacker tools to find out perhaps it works to get into the network of the another school or of the network of the parents' company or whatever. What is especially dangerous is the denial of service. Denial of service attacks, because it's so difficult to prevent, because denial of service attack is requesting the service that's offered by the company. But the question is, it is requested in a much too large amount, so that the system is not able to react in the correct way. Then we have another group of potential attackers. That are the hackers and crackers of the computer underground. So typically, that is an unprofessional elite of hacker community, increasing cancellation of homogeneity in the scene and the motivation. So in the beginning, very early, this was a group that tried to get access to communication, to telephone communication systems, to make cost-free telephone calls. And the philosophy behind was communication is a democratic human right. Everyone should do this for free. So it's a little bit naive, ideologic idea, but without thinking that the telephone company has to pay for the system. So from this also the computer underground was developing, but meanwhile it is very heterogeneous. It's very different goals and aims, and it's more and more differentiating. Originally, this was a phone freak. This was the basis of this movement, coming from US in the late 60s. So it was not from the internet, it was from the telecommunication area. So a cracker wants to shut down communication system of an industry or of a business. And particularly, this comes from the origin of this movement. They are particularly interested in shut down communication systems of communication enterprises. In Germany, most popular is a computer chaos group, CCC in Hamburg, where many of these people are organized and working and cooperating. The organization of this group is done by so-called bulletin boards, by hacker magazines, by conventions to meet each other, to discuss, to exchange information, which system has what weakness. It is not so easy to say good or bad, because some of the information of such hackers and crackers, when they find out there is a weakness in that and that software, in that and that system, this information, as soon as it's become known, gives rise to repair activities. So the insider communication, the exchange of information about errors, about leaks in operational system, in application systems, in the security systems. This is done. This is the aim and this is the goal of this hackers and crackers, so that they try to break into such system, but then, for example, make it public. For example, if you think on groups like Anonymously or others. There are more potential attackers. So the professional hacker criminals and computer secret agents. And the reason is here that internet becomes more and more commercialized. So more and more business activities are done over the internet. So internet opens a market for professional data theft, for data manipulation, and for other things. So that professional data thieves often occur from the hacker scene. They know, they develop ability, and then they start to earn money with such activities. Also former Secret Service co-workers are in this group. Computer specialists. The executed specific task, what they do is, for example, industrial espionage, Secret Service, collecting information from other countries, other companies. And I mentioned this already, there is a relatively easily accessible black market. One can order such services. One can order such criminal hacker services. So there is a black market and there are prices for the different activities these people do. There are more potential attackers. There are ordinary criminals. Ordinary criminals from the traditional criminal scene. For example, particularly the organized crime, the group of organized criminals is here in. Because in the organization one needs to communicate to each other and one needs to do this in a way that's not detected by police. So of course these people, drug mafia, falsifying medical drugs, such make use of the potential of internet because then communication becomes easy and is difficult to trace. So in this way, also new types of computer crime occurs. For example, attacks against financial systems, attacks against e-shops, against shopping systems, against transaction on the internet. And the authorities are not well prepared to control this. It's difficult to control the exchange of messages in the internet. It's much more difficult than to control exchange of messages in the real world. So the question is how one can observe such activities to be able to fight against this is a very big and important task, and it's an ongoing discussion between the police and the security authorities and the public. Where is the boundary? What control mechanisms that it's allowed to use by these security authorities in their fight against attackers, and of course the public people and in the discussion, they afraid that such methods are also used to control other communication in the over the internet. In any case, from this point, one understands why such security institutions like CAA, NSA, BKA, why they want to have backdoors also for cryptographic operations, to be able to, in emergency case, to see what is communicated in such encrypted messages. Last group I want to mention when we speak about potential attackers with a completely different motivation for attacking computer systems is a group of terrorists. There is a tremendous increase of the usage of the internet by terrorists, because it becomes more and more obvious that our modern society depends in many, many activities immediately from the internet and from the function, from the correct function of the internet. So these terrorists use the internet for many different purposes. For example, to raise funds for their activities, to recruit people, to give them information about some ideological information with Nazi information or Islamic information or others. To spread their propaganda. It's cheap in this way to use the internet, the World Wide Web, to spread such terrorist propaganda. To communicate and to coordinate actions. To run networks, to activate people in a certain situation. Today there are often news about such attacks against public transportation service or against critical infrastructure like power lines and others. So one example from the last year, from the year 2006 was that they find that they prevent a bomb attack in a regional train in Koblenz, in southwest of Germany. Luckily, this was unsuccessful, this bomb attack. But what people find out was that on the laptop of one of the terrorists, the police finds the proof that the manual to build the bomb, the organizational details for this terroristic attack, they, of course, was downloaded from the internet. So it was downloaded from another piece where people described how to create bombs, and the terrorists used this. So you see, internet is, for our modern society, a very important part in business, in private life, in all facets. But it's important to think about the security of the internet and to be clear that internet provides a risk, that there are different people, criminals that try to misuse internet for their bad activities, and that we have to learn how to secure such systems to prevent such attacks. Thank you for your attention.